Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. We are having a look at the preliminary list for update 2.51 in a scuffed way, because why not? We're also streaming some active matter and having a bit of fun. So let's see what the leaks are when it comes to the next major update. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get started. Oh, also in this video, we'll cover like the other stuff, so the extra stuff, because it seems like they're actually doing something with autoloaders, which is interesting, and also adding a new missile. So we'll see how that goes. Things that I won't cover in this video are things that also have already been kind of shown. So Chieftain 900's in the list. Obviously, there's a dev blog. T-3485 Stabilized Edition in the list, already a dev blog. C-13 Hawk Tour also in the list, already talked about. So I'm not going to kind of go over them. There is one vehicle here which I do want to talk about though, in terms of its appearance, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of goes on. But firstly, let's talk about this. This is the BTR 82AT. We have been struggling in War Thunder for BTRs. There's only the BTR 80A, which to be honest isn't very good. And the BTR 82 is a large upgrade over that general platform. And then the BTR 82 AT is a further upgrade in terms of armament. What you're getting out of this thing, you're getting a stabilized 2A72 30mm, which if you played the high BRs of War Thunder for Russia, you'll be very used to. And then also you gain some ATGMs. You can also see some slat armor, which is quite nice. It has massively improved kind of optics as well, including thermals and many other things. The major improvement of this compared to the BTR 80A is mainly its like extra kind of chemical protection and its extra armament. In terms of like mobility, it's kind of the same. There's not too much difference with it. With the additional weight and everything, they have also improved certain aspects of its transmission and other things, but not a huge amount for it. But yeah, basically what you're getting out of this thing is a ATGM launcher. Depending on which one you look at, it can use the corner ATGM, which would be kind of nice, but at the same time, it could technically use different ones too. So it'll be interesting to see how Gadget does this. Sometimes what they do with especially Russian vehicles, like when you have a look at like the Sturm S or the Chrysanthema or others, they actually have multiple different ones. So maybe they'll do this with the BTR, maybe not. But yeah, you're getting a much more high tier vehicle, which will have access to a dual feed on the ammunition. It'll also have access to Conkers, which will be really nice. And also, it could have access to a bunch of other things too, depending on what they decide to put in, especially the specific variant of it. If they put in this one, it'll be incredibly good. Now, let's talk about the next vehicle. This is the CM34. Now, we've talked about the CM34 before. This is what we call a Patria derivative, or at least what I call it, because the Patria has done significant damage to armored vehicles in general. Because everybody saw the 8 world platform and they were like, you know what? We need one of those. So every single bloody country in this world now has this type of vehicle. This is the Taiwan version of the Patria. This is the CM34 with the 8 wheel chassis. And this, being the CM34, is more of kind of like the AFE or IFE one, where you can carry troops, but also you have the good old auto gun on it. Now, there's a lot of these in game. They recently, in the last update, added one which was similar. The Badger came in. You also have stuff like the Vilcas, for example, which has access to the spikes. But I'm pretty sure the standard CM34 only has access to the gun and nothing else, and obviously the machine gun on top. So you're getting another very large vehicle for China, very similar to the ZLT, which is there. But instead of having like a proper gun, you're instead getting an autocannon, very similar to the Bushmaster, if not the same. Talking about China, there's another vehicle that's turning up. Yeah, in the leak list, there is the M1A2T. Now, the M1A2T is a version of the M1A2, which is being exported to Taiwan. So Taiwan will have access to the Abrams. This means that the Chinese tech tree overall will have access to the Abrams. So it will officially become a tech tree which at top tier will have access to Western MBTs and also Eastern style MBTs. So we'll have to see how that goes. The M1A2T is different from the standard M1A2 in a few different ways, but mainly it is basically the same. Technically, you have different ammunition choices. The armor should also be slightly different, but as we know, when it comes to War Thunder, shouldn't really make a huge difference because of the fact that a lot of these stats can be manipulated, especially at top tier. So the big thing will be interesting in terms of the community ruckus, because as we saw recently with with Thailand and with Japan, there was a big uproar from the Chinese about the fact that the VT4 or the VT5, which no, is the VT4. The VT4 was going to be in the Japanese tech tree because of these awful things that happened many, many years ago. It will be very interesting to see how the American player base responds to the fact that China is going to be getting their main battle tank just in their tech tree. And you'll see a lot of double standards going on now with the Chinese, just like you do with all the other communities, and it will be very interesting to see what happens. So I'm looking forward to it, as I always do. The next one for France is the Jaguar. Uh, God, the Jaguar is incredibly ugly. The vehicle itself, it's your modern kind of like AFE thing, right? Like it's very similar to what all of these like types of general like vehicles are. I like the fact that when it comes to the EBRC Jaguar, it has a 6-wheel base instead of an 8-wheeled base, and also in general has some kind of like interesting derivatives of it. But let's be honest, this thing is very very ugly, and I'm very glad it's coming to the game because technically this vehicle, even though it's French, Belgium is also going to be using it in the future. Same with Luxembourg. So this could actually be the first Luxembourgian vehicle with when it comes to the game. So that would be actually kind of fun. The EBRC as a vehicle, it has a 40mm gun. So you can see it right there. It also has access to fire and forget missiles. This is a very, very modern platform. It uses the Acheron missiles, which should be pretty fun. It obviously has all of the advanced systems that you would want from this type of vehicle. And also, this is kind of like the next stage of, I suppose, like AFVs when it comes to the game and high tier. After we've had a lot of the Patria types, we're now actually getting some of the more interesting ones that different nations have built. So hopefully we can get that British one, which I've forgotten the name about. Basically, it's the one where when they first test drove it, it made the crew so ill they had to stop, basically jumping them up and all over the place when it came to its suspension. But yeah, 40mm, fun missile setup, some interesting optics. Ah, yes, the Ajax. That was his name. Thank you, Hans. Good old Ajax in the house. But at least the Jaguar isn't making its crew vomit. At least not from the suspension. From the looks, maybe. The next one. This is for Israel. Oh, man. We are doing all of the funny, weird, and wonderful vehicles this time, aren't we? So, if you don't know, Israel has a long history of taking American vehicles and taking other vehicles and making something out of them. You can see this with the Tehran series, where they took like the T-55 and added the 105mm L7 to it. You can see this with a lot of their Magags, right? Where they added different pieces of ERA, they added different pieces of armor, different engines. And guess what? The Israelis also have a metric ton of M113s, which are, of course, the APCs that America made. And they tested a bunch of stuff on them, not just making certain AAs, but also making this. This vehicle is a M113 with a 60mm HVG gun on top of it in a turret. Now, we already have this gun in the game on the Orbital, surprisingly in the Italian tech tree, but it hasn't really been seen since in a big way because guess what? It doesn't really do a lot of damage. It works similarly to like the VCC one that's there, but wouldn't have as good of a reload. So yeah, It looks like Israel is getting a funny meme vehicle with access to a funny gun and also a funny platform. This one will actually be quite enjoyable. And as I've said many times, I really look forward to Israel getting more light tanks. I just didn't think it was going to be this thing. Oh man, it's great. Just take it all in. As always, let's talk about the extras now. So we've had a look at the vehicles that are in the leak list. In the extras, so you have new missiles. You have the KH-59M and the KH-59ME. I will talk about these in the future. I just want to let you know that they're there. I disagree with them being added. It's like many of these different ones. You also have new destroyed units, which I don't know what that means. The ground BR being increased to 12.7, which would make sense with the new SAM systems and also the compression that is at high tier now. It also means they'll be able to sell 12.3 vehicles because that's how that works. And then also, there's going to be some new Russian and Chinese autoloader times. So, as you know, when it comes to Russian and also Chinese autoloaders, their loading times have lagged behind everything else for a long time. And Gaijin uses loading times as a balance mechanic. That's why the Abrams has a 5-second reload when it used to have a longer one. It's why they've changed the Leopard 2's reload over and over and over again because of balance stuff. Same with stuff like the Leopard 1s and many others. The problem is with autoloaders, you can't really do it as effectively because if you change the autoloader of one vehicle and make it a bit quicker, then you have to have a justification for it because it's not somebody manually loading it. There isn't that kind of human error side of it. So what they've done is across the board, they've changed a lot of Russian autoloaders. So the T80s, instead of them having a 6.5-second reload, they're going to have a 6-second reload. The T64A is going from a 7.1-second reload to a 6-second reload, same as the T64B and the T80B, except the 9M112, so the ATGM. The VT4 and the VT4A1, their reload is going to 6.66. All of the T72s, their reload is going to 7 seconds instead of 7.1. Huge change. But the ones that aren't changing are the T72B, the B1989, the B3, and the B3A. So basically all the other ones are changing. And then with the T90s, all of theirs are changing to 7 seconds, apart from the T90M. So they are actually starting to actually use the loading of autoloaders as a balance mechanic for top tier Russian and also Chinese MBTs. Pretty much all of the Chinese MBTs, by the way, of the ZTZ 96 and upwards, so the MBT 2000, the Al-Khalid, all of those, they've gone to 7 seconds instead of 7.1. So it's not a huge change, but the major thing that this does is it kind of shows they are moving around and they are doing these things. They are pushing about and basically using them to balance stuff, which is kind of cool because it means that those now have the same standards as everybody else. So now everything can be balanced. It also gives you a little insight in what is doing well and also what is not. So that's all the ground vehicles. Thank you for joining me as always. Let me know what you think about them. I do want to hear about that Abrams and what's going to happen. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.